Now recently I got a question from a viewer asking how I sharpen my scrapers to be this effective. Now there is more to that than you probably think, so stay tuned. Now the viewer with this question had a lot of the troubles getting the shavings that I'm getting when I'm showing the videos like this one. So I want to cover that as well in this video, and also cover how the different kind of approach with the scraper can have a different kind of effect as well. But if the tool is dull, then it's dull. So don't be afraid of sharpening. That's the inevitable process in wood turning. So we have to sharpen our tool. So let me show you how I do scrapers. Now, just before I show you how to sharpen these 4 scrapers and how they perform when they are nice and sharp, I want to show you how they perform when they are not sharp, when they are dull. And I'll show you 4 scrapers. First one, square end scraper, 19 mil wide by 6 mil. Then refiner. This is my first signature tool, shear scraper refiner, inspired by my mentor Richard Raffen. The next one is one of the newest addition to my signature line, which is this spear point scraper. Really lovely tool, and I'll show you how versatile it can be. For all of you that uses negative rake scrapers, this is the only one that I have. This one is inspired by Steve Jones. If you don't know who Steve is, check out his Instagram, his Facebook and his YouTube channel. He's a production turner from England and extremely phenomenal turner, so really worth checking him out. This kind of a grind his family used for generations, so again, nothing new to negative rake scrapers. They have their benefits and their drawbacks, so they are user friendly, so it's much harder to get a snatch. You really would have to drop the handle way down to have the upper bevel pointing up into the wood, then you'll have a snatch. But other than that, it's a quite user-friendly tool. Depending on the shape that you need, you'll shape the steel here, so all the different curves and whatnot. The burr won't last you a long time on the negative scraper. Not sure why. The geometry has something to do with that. Now, as I mentioned, the burr is when we sharpen the, let's say in this case, this negative scraper, and we sharpen the bottom bevel last, it rolls the steel over itself like so. So it's sticking up like this. That's the burr. You're going to see it when I sharpen the scrapers on the grinder. You'll see that burr developed. Or we can burnish that burr, or roll it as I call it, with burnisher. That way we roll nice sharp edge into that sort of a hook like. That's doing all the work for us. So if you just polish this, let's say with a hone, the bottom bevel, the top bevel, in most cases nothing will happen. But on the timber, on the wood that we are using, you want to have a burr on. So let me show you how this negative scraper, when the burr is gone, where it's dull, how it performs. So you can see I'm still getting something off. Show you from a different angle as well. So you see I'm still getting something, but I hope you can also hear vibrations that I'm getting off. So I would have to push really hard in to make it cut, which is not what you want to do with scrapers. So again, I do get some sort of a shavings off, but I have to use quite a lot of force to do so. And if I use it lightly as it should, not much is happening, and I get this high pitch harmonic, let's say. And the surface left behind, hopefully that's visible. This is the worst part here, where the grain aligns, so that is just pulled out. So same procedure, square end scraper. This one is standard scraper. same stuff. I have to push right in, use a lot of force to make it cut, and hopefully you saw how it sort of bulges in, for lack of better words. So if I use a lot more pressure, then probably I would have a massive catch. A refiner as well. This one is slightly sharper, let's say. Some of you might have shavings like this. So in most cases, when I see these short stubby shavings, it tells me that the grain has started to pull out. So all of these, it's hard to show you that. So all of these are basically these where the grain is aligned and the edge of the scraper. So all of that is pulled out of here. So we are not scraping the surface, we're not polishing the surface or anything like that. We're just pulling the grain out. So that happens with the dull tool. Same with the spear point scraper. I'm getting something, as you can see, but again, it matches the description of that pulled grain. And again, I can't show you or quantify the force, how much I have to use for these to cut. But hopefully you're going to see how, when these are nice and sharp, how effortlessly these perform. Now also want to show you here, so this was all side grain. Now in this area here we have interchanging grain. So we have side grain, then end grain. Again, side grain, end grain. So that changes the whole dynamic of the scraping. So here, especially here, if I use a lot more force, what could happen is I could dig the edge in and actually split the entire piece in half. That maybe happened to you. So if you have to use a lot of pressure to make the scraper do anything, then it's dull, it's not sharpened properly. So that was square end scraper. This is refiner. I'm getting some shavings off. I'll show you the surface as well. So not sure how much you should be able to see. I think this area is probably the worst. So where the grain, it's running like this. So in this area it's the worst, and the opposite here. So here we have a not super terrible tear out, but that refiner was slightly sharper than the rest of the scraper. So let's see the negative scraper. Again, I'm getting something off, but it's far from efficient tool, as you'll see in a few seconds after sharpening. So that was negative scraper. The surface doesn't feel that terrible, but let's find the here it's the really badly torn grain out. So, and you'll see, even if I use the scraper as flat, you can get really nice surface. So there is no point in showing you the spear point in this area because it won't perform anything different than the other three. So let me show you how I sharpen these. Now I'll be using 180 grit CBN wheel, and this platform is for my skews. This is dedicated platform just for that, and I can use it to sharpen the top bevel of the scraper, negative rake scraper. So I'll do that real quick. Now the edge may look like it's straight across, but it has tiny bit of a curve, just a little bit. So now, to get a burr on, a nice and sharp scraper, now finally you grind the bottom bevel. And again, just for the sake of the demo, I'll use a platform. Usually I would do it freehand, so So now that should be, you can see I'm right in the middle of the bevel. So a few more seconds and I should reach the top of the edge. Nice and sharp negative scraper. So roughly 15 to 20 degree top bevel, and the bottom one is between 45 and 50 degrees. Again, I can feel nice sharp burr here. I'm trying to show you, maybe the camera will pick it up, of slightly lighter color gray on the very edge. So that's your burr. So if I go over with a lead pencil like this, or graphite, you can see how it sticks onto the edge. So that's your burr. That's doing all the work for the scraper. So the next tool is refiner, and I have the platform set because I did establish a new bevel roughly 45 degrees, between 45 and 50. Again, you don't have to get hung up on the exact angle. So what I'm after again is seeing the burr developing on the top. You may not see that, but I can see. Now the shape of refiner evolves, let's say, for the specific task that I'm doing. So the other day I had the refiner a little bit more square across for the specific, again, task. Now you can see it has a little bit more curve to it. So again, it depends on what I need it for. And again, I feel a really nice sharp burr. Not sure if you can see it on the very tip of the edge, trying to get the camera. You should be able to see it right here, a tiny bit of a hook on the very edge of the scraper. Square and scraper as well. Just a tiny bit of a angle to the right. Few degrees. Again, I want to feel the burr all the way across. You can see the bottom. Again, roughly between 45 and 50 degree angle. The final scraper left to sharpen is a spear point. As you can see, I've established a new bevel underneath. Now I don't care what's happening here in this area. You can remove pretty much all of that. So you have to sharpen only the top portion, maybe 5-6 mil, so you don't have to sharpen all the 10 mil of steel like in this case here. So the platform is set roughly to between 55 and 50 degrees, keeping it nice and flat on the tool rest. Again, it has a relatively flat or wide flat area on the bottom, but still has a really big round over, so it glides easily on the tool rest, so you can manipulate it whichever way you need. So all the way to the tip. I can feel a nice burr to the other side. Again, usually my bevels don't look this pretty, and that's sharpened as well. I feel a nice burr all the way around. Speed is the same, 1484.5 RPM. Again, I like to keep the negative scraper slightly more towards down. Handle goes slightly down, but that's only for negative rake scrapers. With standard scrapers, my end of the handle is slightly higher than the cutting edge here. But now, as soon as I touch the wood, you can see it looks and it feels a lot more effortless. And hopefully you should be able to see the slightly different color here where I scraped versus here where it's pulled grain out of the wood. So let's do this a little bit more. can see a lot of the dust, a lot of these fine shavings and everything, how it sort of sticks to my hand and the tool. That feels okay. So now without too much effort I'm using the scraper. Again, this is what you want to see. So let's do this one more time just to show you. As you can see, I have quite a bit of shavings flying off, but also what I'm getting is this fine powder shavings combination of both. So that was negative scraper, and just to show you, the surface left behind is really smooth. Again, this is maple. It's a little bit more forgiving in terms of scraping, but not to a point like ash or anything close to that. So if you don't know how to use properly scraper, it will show it quite obviously. So as you can see, again, hopefully on the camera will pick it up, slightly darker color than this area here, but it's really nice and smooth. Parent scraper. Again, this is the burr straight from the grinder. Same stuff happens. I get maybe a bit more shavings due to the edge geometry, but still on the top of the tool I'm getting this really nice powdery stuff. Again, end of the handle is slightly higher than the cutting edge, and I'm using really light touch, hardly any pressure on the wood, and it should be quiet operation. So hopefully you hear there is no loud noises or anything, just nice quiet scrape. Next one, a refiner. Same, as you can see. I'll actually show you this from a different angle as well, so you can see it from a little different point of view. And I still haven't explored the complete options for the scraper, so I can get even better surface with these scrapers on this piece of timber. So again, getting the same results, really nice and effortlessly. Surface left behind is really good. A spear point scraper. Again, working its magic. Side grain portion, again with a negative scraper. The surface is quite ruined from the dull scraper, so it will take just a few more seconds. But again, hopefully you can see a cloud of dust. I'm hardly using any pressure. Probably it will take a few passes with different scrapers to get rid of all the torn out grain. But you can see clouds of dust on the scraper, but loads of shavings on me, which you probably don't see fly off. And the surface left behind is really clean. A little, like I said, a little bit more because the torn grain was a little bit deeper than expected. But once I get to the last scraper, it will probably be gone. All of these will perform pretty much the same. Again, here, same result. And this is on my hand. So again, really nice. And I know some of you will wonder about the shavings as well. So this is what I'm getting Extremely light touch. Hopefully you can see a negative angle handle, and it's higher than the cutting edge. And I'm getting these spider web shavings. And dust on the tool. And the surface left behind, again, really nice and clean. And finally, I'll do it this way so you can see it a little bit better. A really nice light touch. I'm getting all this on the tool. Now with a spear point, when you tilt it like this, you already have a shear angle, so the surface should be slightly cleaner and the shavings will be slightly different. So as you can see, all of this. Like I said, I still haven't explored all the possibilities to get even better surface on this piece of maple, and I'll show you now that option, which is using a burnisher. So this is specifically my burnisher from M42 steel. So you want something that is slightly harder than the steel you're using for your scrapers. Again, you don't have to use a burnisher. I like using a burnisher and the pulled burr that you get with burnisher. It gives better surface. You consider it like a card scraper on steroids. It can be a little bit more grabby, so if you're not familiar using standard scrapers, then I recommend just using the grinder burr. It will do the similar job, but burnisher or pulled burr just works a step above that. So what I like to do, first step, is remove the remnants of the old burr. Same procedure, so flip it over on a piece of sandpaper. So a bit of a WD-40 silicone version, just so the burnisher glides a little bit easier on the scraper. So what I like to do is keep the burnisher nice and flat on top of the scraper, do a few rubs. That way you extend the nice sharp edge a little past the bevel. That's the other key thing. You want to have your scraper edge really nice and sharp, much like a knife edge. If it's not sharp enough, or if it's dull or damaged, then no matter what you do, you won't get the result that you want. So it's crucial that it's a nice sharp edge, because now that nice sharp edge, I'm going to roll it upwards like a hook, and that will cut the timber or scrape the timber. So I find the primary bevel, raise it a few degrees, and all that it takes is 1, 2. So a couple of strokes, grab a bit of shavings to wipe away WD-40, and again I can feel this time a little bit more aggressive burr, and you'll see that it's quite aggressive, but the surface again left behind, it's much clearer or better. So again with the square end, all that it takes. Spear point, keeping it nice and flat to extend steel slightly. Find the bevel, raise it a few degrees. And you should feel a nice burr. You don't want to fiddle with that too much, going I don't know, 10 times around, because you will introduce quite a big of burr or damaged edge. It won't work as properly. So, and the same I'll do with the negative scraper. So find that bevel. Actually, I'll go like this first. I think the negative scraper just works a little bit better if used straight from the grinder. So now let's see how this works. A lot more shavings flying around, and that's quite obvious. And that's really nice and clean. It gives a tiny bit of a shine as well. Let's try refiner. Again, you have to be aware how you use it, because it can be more aggressive than the grinder burr, but the surface again left behind is really clean. So now with a square end scraper, just make this slightly wider. Again, a lot more shavings this time, but the surface, again, left behind is supreme. And you'll see when we sand entire thing with 220 grit paper. Spear point. Again, works lovely. You can cut with it. Let's say a tenon. You can use it flat as well. Again, works lovely. But also get the shavings off the camera. Now here on the end grain, side grain portion, negative rake scraper, you can see now works a lot more aggressively with the pull burr, but since it's a negative scraper, it won't fight you back, so, and it will leave a really nice finish. Look at this. And again, finish left behind where most turners will struggle. This is really nice and clean. Look at the ripples here and the shine that you get on the side grain. End grain is muted, so matte appearance, but it's nice and clean. That's what you want. Square end scraper. Now if we just stick this will be way too aggressive. So what I like to do is go into increments like this. Because if it does catch all the edge at once, with the pull burr, it can snatch. Again, really nice and clean surface. You can do the same with the refiner. Now, refiner edge has one benefit. The profile here is when I tilt it up on its side, now I can introduce a whole different angle of approach, and you can see I'm getting really lovely shavings, but the angle of attack changes to the timber. And now, first of all, I'm getting really lovely shavings, but the surface left behind is even better than anything else that I've shown you. So everything now gets a really lovely shine. Now spear point will perform here as well. Just keep it nice and light touch. You don't want to hear it scrape. That means that you're pushing too hard. So just nice and light touch. You can change direction, drop the handle down. Just make sure you don't stick a point up into the timber, because that will be a massive catch. And look at the stuff that I have covered my hand with. So all of these is what you get. And again, surface behind is perfect. Introduce with the spindle gouge just a little curve here. I want to show you something as well. So usually I would use refiner as the shear scraper to smooth this out. Now I will have to support the back of this blank so it doesn't vibrate. If it does vibrate, then you won't get as clean of the surface. You get a few ripples in it. So I just support it a little bit, just resting my fingers behind the blank. That's all that it takes to counteract the forces with the refiner, which are very little. So we can see hopefully the surface left behind. So we have a nice profile here and flat. Here in this corner I'll use a spear point. Make sure you don't open it up too far, because it will catch on both sides, on this surface and on this surface, and it will be a spectacle for sure. Just remove the sharp edge. I'll use here a combination of the tools. Here I can use negative scraper. I'm using square and scraper. I'll adjust the tool rest slightly. Quick sand with 240 grit, 220 grit. Let's do a few seconds. let's sand it properly. Okay, I think that's done. Again, this is only 220 grit. Let's take it off the chuck and inspect it. I'll just blow off the dust. Okay, let's see what we have here. I think you'll agree that this is pretty darn good. So just to show you all the way around that there is no tear out whatsoever, no pulled up grain, no tool marks or anything. Even the corner detail here is nice and clean, and this couple of donuts here in the middle, again, really nice and clean. Now, I forgot the name of the viewer that had that original question. I apologize for that, but hopefully this video answers some of the nuances using or sharpening the scrapers. I think they are, at least in my opinion and in my work, they are irreplaceable. So I cannot imagine turning without scrapers. So I use gouges, don't get me wrong, and sometimes scrapers are not the best tool for the job, but in my work, in my flow, in my whatever I'm doing on the lathe, scrapers somehow have their place. Now and I'm speaking more towards the standard scrapers, so that single bevel and the top flat surface, they have to meet in a really nice and sharp point. If it's not, then no matter what you do, you won't have the results that I've shown you in this video. So either if you're rolling, or that's even more exaggerated if you're using a burnisher, because if that edge is dull, then you'll just roll the dull edge over, so it won't make it any sharper or anything like that. In most cases, for most turners out there, using a grinder burr is more than enough, and I use it all the time. Again, I just like the performance of pulled burr, but as you probably seen in throughout the video with pulled burr, sometimes it can have a little bit more grabby effect, and especially if you're just starting out using scrapers, I would highly suggest that you use a grinder burr, or you just use a hone, diamond hone. I haven't shown honing the edge, but it will basically do the same braided burr as the grinder. So hopefully you like this little video. Let me know in the comments below if you have any struggles with any kind of other topics on in wood turning. So thank you for watching, and see you next time.